My name is Roberto Salsone. I stay in Port Elizabeth, South Africa. It's a beautiful sunny day. A lovely, lovely sunny day. It's around 12:05 in the afternoon, so it's midday. Welcome all. I'd just like to speak today about Moses. Moses is a character which has different, or is a 3D character, shall we say. Moses, what catches my eye about Moses, that he's a number man. Okay, let's start off with a little bit of history. He's placed in the river by his sister because the Pharaoh was killing all the youngborn, the 1-year-olds. Pharaoh's daughter finds Moses, and somehow at the same time, Moses' sister comes along, and Pharaoh's daughter asks Moses' sister, can't she nurse the baby? Which she did. So Moses grew up in the temple, in Egypt, in the palace, becomes very well educated, and he stayed there, or shall we say he resided there, for around 40 years. Then something strange happened. He got caught up in a fight with another Egyptian, which he killed. Somehow one gets the impression that Moses would have come off, or would have been given a free pass, because you could have said, well, it was an accident, I killed him, wasn't intention, did not kill the man intentionally. But somehow we read further in the story that Moses left Egypt because Pharaoh was upset that he killed another Egyptian. He goes to a place called Midian, and he's probably been thirsty going walking through the mountains, and he comes across a well. But at the same time, there are ladies there that brought the camels to the well. But at the same time, we read there were shepherds also at the well. And so I get the impression that the shepherds didn't want the ladies to get the opportunity to allow the camels to drink water. And there seemed to be in a bit of a scuffle. But somehow when they saw Moses, they retracted, and they allowed the ladies the opportunity to give the camels water to drink. The question asked, were the shepherds frightened of Moses? The fact that he was an Egyptian, they respected him as a high-ranked person. The Bible does not tell us much about that, but it just tells us that the ladies did not have a problem to allow the camels to drink at the well. So the ladies probably went home, and one of the girls told their father about Moses. The father told go fetch Moses. Long story short, we find that Moses get married to one of the daughters. He stays for another 40 years in a mountainous area. If one think about it, in Egypt, he lives in the palace at a very, very high rank. So he was very well educated. He was probably in the art of poetry, music, artistry, all those gifts he was probably, those skills he was taught. So he was quite a man of very high degree. But now he comes to a place where he must become a shepherd. Now imagine, in the palace, he was highly respected, somebody of renown. On the other hand, he's now in the desert being a shepherd. So obviously, while he was in the palace, because of his status and stature, was highly respected, and people probably gave him a bow, whatever the case might be, because of his degree or the person that he was. But now, I spoke earlier, he killed a man in Egypt. So I'm getting the feeling he has a bit of a temper. It does show up, that temper shows up further down in the story. You can do some research on that. Now, when you are in the desert, getting on with people is very important. Understanding people is very important. Understanding the climate is very important. Knowing the routes is very important. Because if you're in a desert, you get shifting sands. So you need to understand and read the horizon. You understand the boundaries. They're always shifting. So he has to go through, from being here, Moses' life starts going a little bit, not downhill, but he needs to transform his life. He needs to change his mindset. He has to reprogram his mindset. He has to adapt to his new surroundings. And I think that must have been quite not easy for Moses. If you are born in wealth, you are born in what you say, a golden spoon. Everything gets given to you. Your father's a wealthy man, it's a business, you just ask and you receive. But now Moses is in the desert. He understands how you must be connected with people. And he also has to understand how people's mind works. Because remember now, he's a shepherd. No more that high-ranking officer. He has to keep his feet on the ground. I mean, from the palace to the farm is not easy. But one day, something happened to Moses. He came across a burning bush. Now, I'm not sure, is it something he saw in his imagination? Or it was a vision he had? Or was it virtual reality? Or was he meditating? But there's something very strong, a burning bush. Now, when you see a bush burning, and you're in the desert, you must have a concern. Because that fire, you know what fire can do? It takes up, burns down vegetations. The Amazon forest is a good example of that. Let's get back to my story. Let's get back to Moses. So he's actually amazed. He looks at the burning bush and he gets curious because he's looking at the bush. The fire is not spreading. It's in one place. So that he's trying to understand. Why is the fire not spreading? So he gets drawn closer to the bush. And then he hears a voice. I think it's something which must have somehow his mind and his heart connected. That's my interpretation. But the thing that struck me was when he heard, this is holy ground. Immediately he realized, hey, this is the Almighty speaking here. Now, all of us won't probably have a burning bush moment in our lives, but we probably all have a story to tell. So, Moses gets a revelation. He must go back to Egypt. He's 80, around about. That's his age now. And he probably was settled in, accepted the life that was given to him. He accepted the circumstances. But God tells him, I'm not finished with you. I am not finished with you, Moses. Imagine at around 80 years old, God placed a calling upon your life. How many of us is prepared to say, or will be prepared at 80 odd years to say, Lord, I'll give up everything to do what you want me to do. And if you read further, Moses struggles, tells the Creator, I can't do this, I can't do that. And the Creator says, no, do this and do that and do that. Eventually, like Moses, like all of us, decide, okay, I've got nothing to lose. The Lord has got my back. I've got nothing to lose. The Almighty tells him, Moses, when you get to the palace, these are instructions you must follow. Yes, okay, as you understand, he says, I've got a problem with my speech, he's probably, people that are short-tempered, they don't know or speaking slowly and calmly. They try to speak cool and calm, and all of a sudden, when they start speaking, they try to speak so fast, and all of a sudden they start stuttering. And Moses was aware of that. So that was not an excuse, really. I think he was being honest. So, the Creator tells him, there is your brother, Aaron. Let him do the talking. Why did the Creator tell him, ask your brother? The Lord could have just told Moses, when you go to Pharaoh, you will start to know more. The picture I see here was that the Creator wanted Moses to be connected with his brother again. Remember, Moses hasn't seen his brother Aaron for 40 years. Guys, if you haven't seen your brother or sister or whatever, or somebody very close to you in 40 years, there's no connection. The Almighty is clever. He don't argue with Moses. He say, no, go ahead. So now Moses must now start building a relationship up with his brother first. So he probably must have seen his brother in the desert a couple of times. And they probably spoke strategy, and he probably told. Remember, Moses is a stutterer. So he had to tell Aaron what they're going to do, how they're going to go about it. Eventually, it so happened that they go to Pharaoh. And you know how it is. There's a pull this way, there's a pull that way. Moses takes his staff, becomes a snake, and Pharaoh says, well, that's nothing, I can do something. Men's ego. And eventually, the thing that any man can handle. Your wife can divorce you. You can lose all your money. But when you lose your firstborn, and it's a son, and the firstborn, is male, your son. My oh my. I think that pain is not easy. I don't think any man can take that pain. It's a memory or a scar that remains there for the rest of your life. Eventually, he says, out of frustration, Pharaoh is now. He's just angry, angry, angry. You know, when you're angry, you're not reasoning. So he probably he probably tell Moses, just get out of my sight, take your people with you. Well, you know how it is. You're under bondage, you're under slavery. You're not also thinking, let's get out of this place. It's not worth it. Let's make our own life. And strange enough, they spent another 40 years in the desert. Moses was 40 when he left Egypt. He came back to Egypt when he was around 80. So there's a difference of another 40 years. They're back in the desert for another 40 years. Another transformation takes place. So often people always say, why 40 years in the desert? They're walking circles. That's true. But 40 years has a significance because I believe, or in my humble opinion, it's all got to do with transformation. The people in the Israelites who came out of Egypt, they all had a mindset of Egyptian culture. Because through the years they adapted, they were friends with Egyptians, they probably intermarried with the Egyptians. They probably had their own culture to a certain point. But there were probably festivals, they come together and probably get married, have children. So the Creator knows that I have to change the mindset, I have to reprogram everybody. The only person that understood the Lord's way of thinking was Moses. Because he was in the palace, Creator took him out of the palace, put him in the desert, learn the ways of the people, understand the desert, because remember, from Egypt, you had to go through all the lands. And that was mountainous areas, desert. And so, 10 Commandments came along. But in that 40 years, even those people struggled to change. When Moses went up the mountain, they created a golden calf. They were taken out of their slavery into freedom, but they still had the old ways. And so often we are like that, me included. Change will be for the better, but we fight against it. Or sometimes to be taken from a comfortable position into an uncomfortable position is not easy. At times we just need to take baby steps and allow things step by step, step by step. But anyway, let's get back to the point. 40 years in the desert. So they have to do 40 years of unlearning and learning the way God wants him to think. If you look at the 10 Commandments, it's quite a tough 10 commandments to keep, considering if you read up what Egyptian culture is all about, it's quite scary. That's research you can do in your own time. So that mindset had to change up here. But as you know, I think only 2 people went into the promised land. Or 3 people. Anyway. So, the number 40 comes up again. Now, Moses is in the desert. So he becomes now leader, judge, lawmaker, and counselor. Well, he struggled because I think there was about 2 million Jews and he couldn't look after 2 million Jews, so he divided into tribes. 12 tribes, anyway. So, we read further. Egypt, 40 years. Into the desert, 40 years. But the remarkable thing of everything, the third phase, according to what scripture says, Moses died at 120 years old. 340s in a row. So sometimes transformation can take a lifetime. And often we look at other people's successes and we say, why did they become successful so quick? But most times a lot of successful people are prepared to go through transformation. And sometimes the process is not easy. They make it look easy once it's successful. You hear the story, then you'll cry. We pray for transformation. If it comes, what will we do? Anyway, I'd just like to acknowledge Sharon, Cheryl, Mr. Mdulula. Thank you, Radley. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for spending your best time with me. Hope you all energized, pumped up. Don't be afraid for transformation. Unfortunately, South Africa is suffering with that problem. Anyway, that's something for another day. Be blessed, go well, stay safe. Bye-bye.